Hi guys, it's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. I have a message for you today and oracle cards at the end. Wasn't even sure I was going to do a video today, and that's part of the lesson for today. I woke up this morning yesterday after having not slept the night before, which is that never happens to me. I'm a really good sleeper, but it was for a reason. It was like a reset. So after feeling, you know, kind of out of it, floating around with no sleep yesterday, and I did okay. I actually got some cleaning done yesterday morning, and I did my video and went outside for a bit, and then fell asleep midday, which of course was needed. But when I woke up, I felt that feeling of boredom was there, but also it's something that I haven't felt, you know, since starting this journey, except for this time of year. So, as I've said before, around Lionsgate, it's like portal closes. We're closing for the Divine Feminine in prior years, and then September 9th would be like even more of a closing, where that week I would always recognize that feeling of feeling like you were thrown out of the journey altogether, like you were never there. Like you had never been through it. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling because it throws you into doubt, because you're disconnected from the journey, from your inner knowing. So I was fine yesterday, but just kind of feeling that boredom and feeling, is what I'm doing the highest good of everyone? You know, is my video really helping the people who are listening? And is this really what I should be doing? Is this my bliss? And just questioning those things, because I was so disconnected from what we've been feeling. So I was up the rest of the evening, as usual, watched a couple movies, and went to bed, and I was fine, did my meditation. And when I woke up this morning after sleeping really well, I woke up at 9:11. Okay, perfect. And then checked my iPad for my comments and things like that around 9:18, which is my birthday. And then went to the kitchen to do my routine as far as my juice and my decaf, and cleaning any dishes that need to be cleaned. And I just felt lost. I felt really sad, like everything I'm doing is useless, and I just felt totally out of the journey. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling, not being connected with your knowing. And I was questioning that. Why am I feeling so disconnected? I've been doing my meditation, I've been connecting, so what's the point of this? Why am I being thrown out on purpose? Why am I feeling this way? So I had a few tears at the sink, you know, not even like crying, but just my eyes welling up. I couldn't cry. Like if I could cry, I would have. I'm like, am I holding back my tears, and do I need to cry? And so I let the tears well up in my eyes, but nothing more wanted to come. So I sat down to start my routine, and I sage and clear and all that kind of thing, and start my cards. And the first thing I listed on my notes today, because I would go back the night before to list what meditation I did and if I did my sand or not. And I did, but it was a quick sand. There's only a few pictures because it stopped pretty quickly. There was more this morning, but it was really just kind of stuck in time. You know, the sand just hung there. It didn't come down. So quicksand, okay? And we all know about quicksand, right? It can suck you under pretty quickly and you won't be able to get out. So that was the first topic of the day, okay? Going into doubt and how quickly it can pull you under. And then I went to sit down and I had a few more tears. And it wasn't a big purge or anything, but just a few more tears. I'm like, do I need to cry? Do I need to get something out? What do I need to learn? So I felt into myself, what do you need to feel loved today? And that's when I cried more, because I realized why. What was happening today. and waking up at 9/11. What is today? It's Tuesday, yes. It's September 4th, which is the Emperor energy, which, by the way, is all about control. And the day adds up to 24/6, which is the Queen of Wands energy, which I often refer to as the karmic energy. But it is 6 of love and compassion and community, the mother energy. It's the 4 of the Emperor energy on the inside, wanting to control. That's the secret, okay? On the inside, you don't want to be the Emperor on the inside. With the outside being the 2 of the feminine energy, coming off as very cooperative. But really, if you're the Emperor inside, are you really cooperative? No. So it's not authentic, it's not real. So, what I realized what today is, what comes the day after Labor Day? School. Back to school. So the topic today is prisoner of war, the student. Okay? How many times when you, and Spirit's connecting with me, how many times have you gone back to school in fear? Started the year out terrified of all of the wounds possible. So I want to go into what I've written down, because this was the process of how everything that came up, and I want you to understand that so you can use it to understand your own process in coming through with these epiphanies, realizations, and just lessons that you need to learn. So when I wrote down that I'd been feeling sad, like crying since I woke up, and then I remembered I hadn't slept all night, the first thing I wrote there was sleep pattern. It's a pattern. Okay? So I broke the pattern because I didn't sleep all night. So in feeling like we're back in September, now in the plain 3D again, feeling lost, what to do today? I don't care what I do today. And the things that used to bring me joy, like going out shopping, don't really bring me joy anymore. Even though I enjoy shopping, I don't really feel like I need anything, so there's nothing to buy. And if I do buy something, I often come home now and say, why did I bother buying that? I don't need it. So what good is it really? And am I really helping you guys? So as I said, I got up and did my routine, and trying to figure out why I need to cry or why I don't need to cry, and to just allow, what do I need to feel love? So, and that feeling of aloneness comes up. If I did want to do something today, and it's not something I want to do alone, who would I do it with? And really no one. Besides the fact that people are working and there's no one around to do things with on the weekdays. Not many people anyway. The people that I would have done things before with have really fallen away. And I was beginning to remember that I'm only alone because I'm disconnected from Source, not because I'm disconnected from others. Did I really want to spend time with those other people who have fallen away? And no, not really. I like spending time with myself. And definitely I love spending time with those people. But it's not what was holding me back. It's not what was hurting me and making me feel isolated and lonely. It was my disconnection from my higher self. Even though I had meditated, I had changed a timeline in not sleeping the other night. For me, that never happens. So it needed to happen to bring up that, what's the word I'm looking for? The friction. To change things, to mix things up a little bit, the expansion. So in crying, when I sat down to do cards, and I went into my heart space to feel why it was uncomfortable, why when I started crowing, that might be important for someone, and crowing could be aging as well, you know, you get your crow's feet. Why was, when I started to cry, instead of crying, which I couldn't after that, it would well up into my throat. So when that happened and I went into my heart space, it was immediate, the realization that we had to go back to school today. Wounds from school, nightmares of starting school, being accepted, taking the sleep away, right? When we get up really early for school, most of us as kids, we haven't had enough sleep when we're forced to get up for school. Ungrounded, unnatural way to wake up. Parents abandon us. They make us go to school with a bunch of people we don't know. And kids, once we get to school, reject us, humiliate us. Getting up in front of the class, how many times did you feel humiliated? Betrayal of the friend that was your friend last year and is no more. They switched friends. Okay, moving to a new school, starting over again, and then the injustice of unfair rules, competition, imprisonment. Okay? So what's worse to our wounds than going to school? Being schooled. Then I was thinking, well, what parents, and Spirit's still connecting with me, when you left for school the first day, even kindergarten, did your parents cry when you left? Did they throw a party? Or did they just send you love and not go to either extreme? Okay? This is important because it's teaching you your wounds. And it's teaching you their wounds as well. You know, you want your parents to cry and be distraught without you, but is that an okay for them, a way for them to be? Of course not. They should be in bliss because they're sending you off on your life adventure, your happiness, to find yourself. That should be the way we see things. Then I got, as I'm putting the cards out, it ends on the last mini clarifier being King of the Mountain, King of the Hill. Isn't that something we played in school? Who gets to be king? Who gets to be the controller? So something that came up is in that hierarchy of the numbers 1 through 10, and even in the tarot deck, the status, you always think the status trumps the journey, right? Because you do this journey to get to the status. That's the way we look at things. But actually, in the tarot deck, the journey trumps the status, because the king and queen and knight and page come first, and then the numbers. So that was interesting. And then the numbers 1 through 10. So you always see 1 is better or 10 is better, but you don't see 5 in the middle, right? That's the middle, that's the balance, that's the 0 point, that's the expansion point. Okay. So then 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? And you notice that 2 didn't come up. It didn't come up for a reason. Because 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate, isn't about 2. It's not about one-on-one appreciation. Okay? And then cheerleaders came up. Okay? And what do cheerleaders do? They motivate, right? They tell you good things about yourself. Yay, team, right? They help the team feel better about themselves. It's like your guides, you know? They're cheering you on, but you have to do the work. So it's about the team. It doesn't have to be about one-on-one. And don't get me wrong, we need the one-on-one because we're human. We need to have that focus so to make sure we're heard and seen. But ultimately, it's about the all. That in order to be heard and seen, you need the one-on-one, because that's your self-love as a human. We need one-on-one attention. We're human. But ultimately, that contributes to the whole because it fills you. It makes you feel happy. And then your vibration trickles off to everyone else. It's the same principle, just on different scales. We have one-on-one family groups, we have bigger family groups, then we have group groups, we have work groups, we have play groups, but there's all of these groups that are representative of the whole, even the one-on-one. It's all the same. It's, are you cheering the people you love on, or are you pulling them down? So we get into the feminine read. And I wanted to stress again, did you notice that all 5 of the major wounds, inner childhood wounds and past life wounds, come up at school? School is like the epitome of wounds. Abandonment, rejection, humiliation, betrayal, and injustice. We are forced to go to prison. So the major arcana that came up for the Divine Feminine, and this is only for the Divine Feminine right now. So much came up in this read, I didn't have time yet to do the masculine. If I have time later, I'll post a masculine read. But it doesn't really matter because so much of the masculine comes up in the feminine read anyway. The major arcana are the Wheel of Fortune, the Transition, which is the Death card in the Sirian Starseed deck, and then the Star. The Wheel, the Transition, and the Star. And the cards came out as the 4 of Wands was the underlying energy, the center of the read was the Ace of Cups, and the outcome was the Star. So you see how beautiful these energies are today. Okay? There was 1 wand, 4 cups, 2 pentacles, and 1 sword. And also the nine of Pentacles comes up as a court card. It's not a court card, but I often see it as a character. So I bring that up. But the only court card was the King of Swords. And the numbers that came up were 48 and 12, as well as 55. And I just have to correct something. The coding had to do with personal growth. What is school about? Personal growth. And you notice also school comes after Labor Day. What happens in pregnancy? We go through labor and then we're birthed. We are abandoned by our mothers. Okay, so it's representing the birth process. Labor Day and going back to school. But this is a template of the birthing process. Okay? It's man-made. So in my codes came up personal growth and also physical activities, but that was secondary. It's really also all about the personal growth. And about the 4/8, and that might be important too, the 8th of something, April 8th. I guess that's important for someone. But it's about the 4/8, which is the 8 of Cups. It's about going within, your journey within. Okay? So it's all about self-growth and the journey within. The center card was the Ace of Cups, self-love. So, in reference to this, what came up, first, my code MASTE, for me, automatically denotes mastectomy. And that brought up the concept of the ability to feed others. And 48, which also came up in the codes as going within. Going within allows you to continue to feed others. But in a mastectomy, when a woman no longer has the ability to feed others, what happens? What is the point there? And also what was coming up is to examine crying stalls, cry stalls. Okay, and I get that often from crystals. And why did I cry? It was a stall. Okay, it's telling you, why did I cry and not be able to cry? It was like a stall in the process. Like think of a system stalling. There's something that needs to be cleared from the system, like there may be a gas bubble that needs to come up. Okay, it's relating that little cry or just a few tears are coming up. It's because there's something that needs to come up that's not identified. Okay, and also then TR came up, which is trill, the 101010, the vibration. Okay, the constant expansion. So then as this stuff came up, and other stuff will come up from the codes, but at this point the 4 laws of thermodynamics came up. because I watched this the other night. I didn't watch it all the way through just because the way it was presented was very uncomfortable for me, because it was so superficial the way it was presented. I guess it could be entertaining on the one hand to some, but for me it was uncomfortable. It was stressing me out, so I stopped watching. I watched more than half of it, but I just didn't need to watch the rest of it because I got the point of what it was, and me learning about the 4 laws of thermodynamics. So of course, which you all know, that energy can neither be created or destroyed. So that's the first law. You can only change the form, and the supplied net heat equals the net work done, the amount of work done. Okay. Number 2 is entropy. The system not in equilibrium will entropy over time and will continue to increase until the maximum value back at equilibrium again. So basically, you lose energy when you expand and get out of control. And you will continue to lose energy that you will not get back until you learn to come back to 0 point. Okay, number 3 is, as temperature approaches the absolute 0, entropy of the system approaches a constant minimum. So as you approach temperature of 0, it's a minimum of heat loss or energy loss, okay? So that's why you want to stay at 0 point. The more extreme you go, one way or the other, you're still going to shut down in some capacity. And then we go into heat and cold, okay? So, freezing preserves and heat destroys, right? But do you want to be frozen as opposed to destroyed? Because they're both with no energy. If you're frozen, you're still not living, but you're not destroyed. But you could possibly be preserved, maybe for a future life, right? So, supporting energy for 0 point, the energy of crystals, trills, vibrations, in order to grow. Okay, and this is the coding today. So thermodynamics, the more heat or work, the more entropy. So we're being taught in our spiritual journey, which is obvious because we're still so much of the time, not to work physically harder, but to work harder. I'm coining that. So I went to say not smarter because it's not about being smart. It's about being heart. We're going from working harder to working harder. If I give you peace, you who are listening to me, according to thermodynamics, and that the fourth rule of thermodynamics is actually the 0 rule. That if 2 thermodynamic systems are each in thermal equilibrium with a third, then they are in thermal equilibrium with each other. Which meaning, in a third-party situation, if you are both in peace because of your divine masculine, then you are in peace with each other. So until you realize that, you cannot be in peace with your divine masculine. Okay? Spirit's connecting with me. So, if I give you all peace by giving you messages, then you all give each other peace, and that's why it's so important for you to connect. So then I'm examining the thoughts, just playing with ideas, because I'm not a student of thermodynamics or quantum physics. That's not my background. What I've told you and what I've known are from my downloads and what I've looked up according to my downloads. So heat exhaustion ends up in a burn, right? The hotter you get, the closer you come to burning and crashing and burning. Whereas if you go the cold avenue, you start shivering, right? So that's shutting things out, and you literally shut down, you freeze. So you either want to burn out or freeze. Those are the extremes. So how do we expand with minimum heat? and minimum freezing to avoid entropy. And entropy really has to do with heat, because it has to do with heat expanding and propelling you. And that's to go with the flow, to stay at 0 point. Better to err on the side of freeze, because it preserves and balances, just like the seasons. You know, if we have a place that's hot all the time, you have uncontrolled insects, don't you? And then you have to kill. Whereas when you live in a colder place with winter, the winter seasons naturally kill. It's natural. Okay? So heat causes entropy, and entropy is the measure of the number of microscopic states. So it's a measure of order to disorder. So entropy is just the measure of how disordered you are. So the more disordered you become, the more disordered you can become, unless you find a way to bring yourself back to 0 point. That's chaos, right? But you can also freeze and get stuck in time. So you crash and burn, or freeze and get stuck. These are both not 0 point. Heat destroys, but it also feeds and nourishes. The feminine feeds and creates, so it can also destroy. The masculine supplies seed through sexual work, transports, bridges, like the queen bee and the worker ants. Queen bee is like the pot of gold. Cold places to live versus hot places to live. Warm is good, but cool is even better. You see how we naturally bring up these terms for ourselves? There's a time for both, but you really want to range from warm to cool. If twin makes you feel stable and makes the karmic feel stable, then you and your twin's karmic make each other feel stable. You're in each other's soul group. It only makes sense. That's my son, the divine masculine, wanting to tap in. Better to distribute a little heat, and I wrote heart. Better just to distribute a little heat at a time than a big burst of heat. Okay, that you lose all. If you just distribute a little bit at a time, then you only lose that little bit, because remember, you don't get back whatever you distribute. So if you do a big burst, like you freak out, you lose all of that heat and you can't get it back. If you let a little bit at a time and then keep coming back to 0 point, then you only ever lose that little bit amount of heat. So better to distribute a little heat at a time, a little heart at a time, than a big burst. Maximum heat does not equal maximum expansion. And these are just things that are coming up. Maximum equilibrium equals maximum expansion. Okay? So you don't want to let it all out there, because it doesn't equal your maximum expansion. To contain it, maximum equilibrium, to keep it at 0 point, is maximum expansion. So you're not putting a limit on it, you're allowing as opposed to controlling or forcing. So if you're too excited, you crash and burn. If you're too depressed, you freeze. We know from Cancer that it is better to be alkaline than acidic in the human body. Alkaline preserves and acidic destroys. Then we get into the cards. This is just the downloads coming in, okay? So the Four of Wands was the underlying energy for the read. The home, the four, the stability, the structure, the minimal movement, the contained or safe place. Keep the home fires burning as long as fire is contained by stone or earth. So we need the earth to keep the fires burning, to keep them warm. Fire is from friction, right? So friction is what creates light. When you create fire, you create friction, and then it becomes fire and light at the same time. So light and heat is fire. So how do we get the light without the heat? You allow. So again, you remember the characters for the day are the Emperor and the Queen of Wands, and they're all about fire and control. So in the read, no sex or no love partner creates arousal, okay, sexual frustration. Contained energy or heat, which can be used a little bit at a time creatively or explode in the end. Loss of energy, disorganized. But sexually, if disorganized, within 0 point contained system, like sex, there is creation. So if you're disorganized within a 0 point contained system, like sex, when you are one, there is creation. Because you don't lose that heat, it's transferred into someone else's body, and you can create birth, actually. But even when pulling up your sexual energy by yourself, that's the point. You're pulling in the energy, you're containing it so you don't lose it. You pull it up to your heart, your third eye, your crown, to contain it, to help you become more creative. And that's what Tantra talks about. It's containment of energy. It's not really about sex, it's about containment of energy, to distribute slowly as opposed to all at once. Recovering over and over again, never really out in the cold. Okay? And it's not about losing orgasm, because in tantric sex, you orgasm over and over and over again. Okay? So it's not actually losing out on the bliss, you're creating more bliss. So the King of Cups has his eye on union. The home fires. The Queen of Swords is out talking, teaching, channeling, while students all over the world have opened their books, but looking to learn in a different way, to be a student of life. Like some like to read, but many are easily distracted, which gets them in trouble at school. They get singled out. And I want to show you this card. Let me find it real quickly. This was a card that came up around this, okay? This is the Wheel of Fortune from the Universal Golden Tarot. And you see that the characters in the four corners are all back to school reading books. You see that? And you see the Sphinx pointing out the guy in trouble who says, I didn't do it. I love this card for that. Okay? And it's all about time, which is an illusion. It's linear time. We're looking for a new way of being. And also remember in school that sitting in that position all day, you need to now reverse it by arching, lying on a ball, or standing up and doing an arching exercise, or lying down on your stomach and pushing up on your arms. School teaches us the angel and the devil, the teacher's pet and the one in detention. What is his truth, the one in detention? This is the solution. Not to hurt him, but to expose him so there's nothing left to hide. Accepted for all that you are, no hidden dynamics at home, that it's all okay, it's all good. And Spirit's connecting with me, still. We're growing lots of roots up and to the etheric realms. In meditation, to accept all as one. In school, we could sit in a group circle until all of our issues are resolved. And I actually did a group like this in the south of France. If you leave the group, then maybe write what your feelings were when you left the group, how you couldn't contain it anymore and you had to release it on your own. Write it all out so your feelings are clear without distraction or fear of rebuttal. Love yourself first. Work with the group, and when you can't, go away, work on yourself, and come back. This should be the rule, the number one rule at school. Love yourself first. The heart is the home. And the teachers are guides. They should be unconditional love teachers. A little disorganization is good for expansion, but putting someone in the corner only increases entropy until they explode or cry, dealing with what they've learned, or squashing it. So the person left in the corner may learn their lesson. They may learn to rise above and deal with why they're in trouble and deal with it, but there's always going to be the one who squashes it and pushes it down, saying, I didn't do that. I'm not bad. And then what are they learning? They're not. They're expanding the entropy. So not working, being still, is necessary to let go of energy buildup, to reorganize and patch things up. Forgive through awareness of self-love, heart-to-heart conversations. Third party, okay, so then we get into third parties after that. So here we have the one-on-one. When you can't work in the group, go away, sit with yourself, but don't do it in a punishing way. Okay, this is just time alone for you to go within and either write it out or talk it out with one person that you can then come back to the group with together. Okay, so then the third party issue comes up. The third party is out watching the King of Swords transform sexual energy at home into dreams. The Divine Masculine is very good at this, but he's also transforming it into his fantasy, transitioning from 3 into union, which would be 2, with the third energy, self-love. Recovering from feeling apart from source to stillness, attention to self as opposed to your thoughts. Stop working so hard and work heart, and allow the magic to manifest into full power. The sun, which is full exposure, the truth. As the Divine Feminine comes into union with self more fully, the Divine Masculine also sees this and feels this. The atom, electrons, and quantum leap. There is no measure of love. Energy just is. Love. I, Sophia. Okay? To be happy in your element, and Spirit's connecting with me, is key. Then to leap out of your element, from home to sun, from heart to home, the central sun. The foundation of this read had to do with the King of Swords holding the truth in front of him. He comes off as being in his integrity, being his authentic truth, but he hides. So there's an infection to his truth. He is not in his truth. He is not expressing his shadow. He's being the leader, you know. He's showing others how to lead the way. So there's an infection, because whatever distortion he is, he's giving and passing on to others, not expressing his shadow, not admitting to his dark side. So the King of Swords internally contains secrets because he hides pain. Centrally, it's all about self-love and romance. After being strong, studying energy of sadness and loss, and not seeing that love is always present, you choose whether to see it or not. The Divine Feminine is challenged by being happy in your own element, leading the way, giving attention to third parties, leading the way, giving attention to the third-party situations, the addictions, the overindulgences, and codependencies of the past, of the inner child wounds, is exposing yourself, exposing everyone to allow the truth to come out. Energy stealing and forced silence as well. The Divine Feminine who's been forced to be silent because she loves her masculine and doesn't want to hurt him. You're not helping him by... what's the word? It just slipped my tongue, or slipped my mind. You're enabling. You're enabling them to stay in a lie, in their lack of truth, in their shadow. Because you're allowing their silence. You're allowing them to control you. Okay? If it's your truth, why shouldn't you be able to tell your truth? Why would you allow someone else to make you not love yourself? because not being in your truth is hurting you. Lying about yourself is self-loathing, okay? It's not love. To allow yourself to love yourself enough to be able to speak your truth no matter what. New life was supposed to end the pain, but half-truths continued, only awakening more confusion. Okay, so this happened for the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine. As you awake and you continue to distort the truth, and Twitter was coming up, so Twitter is coming up for a reason here. Be careful about, yes, this can be a tool used, Twitter, that's gossip, for the truth, but it also can be used to expand lies. So be careful about half-truths, because people interpret things in different ways. Make sure you're very clear in what you're saying, that it can't be misinterpreted, because this also leads to more confusion. The awakening being, naturally, the awakening being not walking away from confusion, but actually sitting in the confusion until it reveals itself. That's the allowing part. Don't run away from the discomfort and pain and confusion. Sit in it until it reveals itself. Half-truth does not equal balance. You think it does. People say nice things, polite things, so they won't hurt others, so that they can stay in balance. If you don't have something nice to say, you don't say it at all, because you're saying a half-truth. Don't lie to make someone else feel better, because that just enables them further. Angels have been patient, allowing your shame so that you could go on to teach the life lessons you have learned, not in school, but the school of life. Spirit's connecting. Now the Divine Masculine walks through the portal of the Divine Feminine's heart. The Page of Cups is now on 2 timelines, walking toward the King of Swords, rising above exposure. All right? And from division and war between the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups, the inner child of the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. The war between them. The children who are mad at each other and won't talk. Okay? But in the higher realms, the Divine Masculine, as the King of Swords, who has mastered many lifetimes, is holding the truth in front of him when he's not being truthful. But he's learning to rise above that and allow himself to be exposed. This is very difficult, as you all know. Finding peace and separation from each other physically, as Empress for the Divine Feminine, exposes herself to ground, and then as the Divine Masculine patiently balances a step at a time to bring his shame and guilt to others, to share and come together with his Divine Feminine to talk about the distance in his karmic relationship as the King of Wands, the passionate man, and being expected to be the man of passion on one timeline, and the King of Cups on another, always taking care of everyone else. Soon the Divine Masculine may feel left out, initially crossing the bridge, after passionately starting over in love to heal and have his dreams come true. Just like the Divine Feminine, when she first starts the journey, she feels very alone. The Divine Feminine is the twin welcoming both children home. The mom, the first day at school, which just came up. All right, so the Divine Feminine is now the mother welcoming her children home from the first day of school. The Divine Feminine is the twin welcoming both children home after avoiding dealing with insecurities of both of them that turn their worlds upside down and around. They now hug as children within the heart, and Spirit's connecting. And the card that came up there was worth waiting for. So you understand your journey now. Around the Divine Feminine is the Divine Masculine, and 28.5 came up, so if that means something to someone, let me know. Around the Divine Feminine is the Divine Masculine walking inward to his destiny, his patience, and his guides, to look back at the King of Pentacles reversed and the Queen of Swords reversed. So him obsessed with work, status, and money, and his karmic ends up being cold, lying, and being mean to him. Clear blocks of loss and regret for the Divine Feminine. Afraid to open their eyes to the truth, because ignorance is bliss, right? Be in your knowing. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance to injustice, to payoffs, to harsh truth. The boredom is the time to ground and integrate what you've learned in your daily practices. And then physical activities and personal growth comes up there. Okay? When you're bored, take a walk. Think about what you've learned in nature. Then there's new love with a magician. The King of Cups, as his knight, offers his love with a new life of marriage, or being one with Source, your higher self, with affection, with intimacy, true intimacy, shining their light together as one, manifesting and alchemizing after confessing suffering behind the walls of the family. He is tired of being in and out of karmic relationship, and this could be with one person or with multiple people depending on the situation. Having been patient and balanced, this is the way he sees it because it's logical, but he wasn't being heartful. And then jealousy and heartbreak to maintain the king of the mountain status. These are the templates we need to break. Unconditional love, union, self-love of the King of Swords and Twins as he goes inward and walks away to destiny of self-love and new love. With independent feminine, he is left behind regretfully, but now walking through portal to catch up so that they can shine together, alchemized, healing complete. Heating complete also is coming up. So the cooking is done. The Four of Wands starts out this read and leads to the Ace of Cups, the center, the heart space, love of self, and ends up at the Star, dreams come true, healing complete. Okay? So, boy, was that a heavy one. And this is your call to look back at school, because there's a ton of wounds at school. Who hurt you? What hurt you? Not just the students and the boys that you liked, or the girls that you liked, and who didn't like you back, but the teachers and the sports, the competition. Who supported you? Who didn't support you? What felt good? What didn't feel good? And why did it feel good? So if you were king of the mountain, you put yourself above everyone else. So why did that feel good? These are the lessons you need to sit on today. And probably all of September that will come up. And I wanted to bring up too, being that this is coming up for me, and knowing how much fear has always come up for everyone, even if you were the most popular kid in school, you know you still had fears. The people who have the best circumstances you think at school may have the worst family circumstances, or they may have lost a family member. There's always a cross to bear for every individual. No one has everything. Okay, these are the lessons that we learn. But in starting school, we all have fear going into this. We all are excited too. You know, there's lots of excitement coming back to school, but there's also fear. Are we going to wear the right thing the first day of school? But also, my birthday was in September. And I often thought about that, because you don't have friends yet in September. So your birthday is not much fun. And actually, maybe right off the bat, if your birthday is right when school starts, it might be kind of fun, because everyone's kind of still in their openness, and it might be a good time to bring new friends into your sphere. But my birthday is until the middle of the month. And that time is when school really wakes you up. You're like, oh, great, we're in school. We actually have homework, all right? So my birthday is that time. it was not a positive time for anyone. So it wasn't a good time for my birthday. And I kind of wanted to bring that up too. That's the lessons of the different signs, where you're placed during the year and what major things happen during the year. The holidays, school starts, what are those things and how do they relate in your life? What wounds do they bring up? So this is a good way to really let some stuff come up today, okay? And I brought an apple for the teacher. I'm going to pull some oracle cards for you now. It's 50-24, it just was, and then 50-25, which is more balanced actually. The Ascension deck. I brought up that 50 and 24. 50 is the 10 of Cups. It's that complete emotional fulfillment and then starting on a new path. And then 24 is the Queen of Wands, the energy of today. What have you learned from family and school? And being the best and the prettiest and the smartest. What did that teach you? Not the obvious wounds, but the people who had it all, who seemed to have it all in school. What did that teach you? And Spirit's connecting with me. All right, so for the organic, divine masculine and divine feminine twin flames, what is the advice for today? Take a deep breath. When you take a deep breath for your meditation, hold it for a bit and allow it to come out slowly. When I use it in meditation, and you hold your breath because it lowers your pulse very quickly. Okay, so that's one advantage to it. But also when you hold your breath, then you have a lot of energy built up. You can diffuse it slowly. It has so much more power that way. As you learn, right before I release it, I kind of hold it a little bit again so that I can just diffuse it very slowly. I bring it in and I wrap it around my heart, and then I diffuse it slowly out. You really can feel the energy build up, and the heat just expands. You can feel the heat. So try that. I also want to just say something, a real quick clearing for the twins. Let's clear any blocks, obstacles, wounds that are blocking union for all the organic true twins and their beloveds across all dimensions of time, space, matter, and realities, for the highest good of all those concerned, and so it is. Transmute, transform, transcending, clear things. So for the divine masculine, divine feminine twin flames, what is the advice? Comes right up. Dolphins. And nature is at the bottom. Okay, it's number 3. Number 3 is, and something else just came up, the fall. Okay, so number 3, I've brought up several things just now. Just the number 3 in nature, and this is the underlying energy. I thank, bless, and love the entire nature kingdom. 3 has to do with, it is the Empress, first of all, which is abundance, and how abundant nature is. It brings up that 3rd law of thermodynamics. It brings up that we're in the fall, which is the fall. Going back to school is our fall position. It's not our rise, it's our fall. And it is the 3rd season. Spring, new growth, summer, fall. And then winter is death. It's the 3rd season. And so why is that? Why is it abundance in the fall? The leaves fall. Everything's dying. So why is there abundance in the 3rd season? So let that sit for a while to come up. It has to do with expansion, doesn't it? Because when we bring in 3, it expands. We learn from the fall. This is our expansion time. All right? The card that came out is dolphins. It's number 23, which is the King of Wands, who also came up during the read. 23 is that 5. It's expansion. It's freedom, energy, excitement, love, romance. And in the deck, it's told that the Queen of Wands is more dynamic than the King of Wands. That she holds many of the same attributes and energies as the King of Wands, but she's more social. So, as that 23-5 of freedom and excitement in the masculine energy, if he doesn't bring it to the world like the Queen of Wands does, then it's contained. So what is there to say about that? So let's read what the card has to say. And it's the 3 of the joy on the inside and the 2 of the feminine energy on the outside. Seeing eye to eye, one to one. Being very agreeable because of the joy inside, the third energy. Dolphin sonics purify and raise the frequency of water as they swim through it so that they can access, maintain, and pass on the wisdom of Golden Atlantis and Lemuria. Those dolphins who shimmer with aquamarine light were the angels of Atlantis. They are mighty beings who help to hold the frequency of the oceans. Choosing this card invites you to tune in to the beautiful dolphins and access a message from them. Your guidance is to relax and flow with the current of ascension, knowing that the dolphins are telepathically imparting help and wisdom to you. And the affirmation is, I connect with dolphin wisdom. So you might want to take a meditation and just ask the dolphins, visualize a dolphin and see what they bring to you. And I was just called to bring up when I went on the dolphin whale cruise, which I've brought this up before. Well, not to mention that just going out on the sea is amazing energetically. It's so freeing, and the energy out on the ocean is so pure, right? It's not distorted out there. And it was a whale and dolphin cruise, but you don't always see whales. And I'm just being told by the dolphins, it's to show you how grand the whale is. To be such a large entity on this planet. When I went on the cruise, we saw dolphins everywhere, and of course they make you feel so good. You don't get enough. You want to see them swimming and being free, and the pictures are so beautiful. And as I'd said before, we didn't see any whales on the cruise, so they said. And then when I got home, one of the pictures I had showed 2 whales, one of them spouting in the distance. It was really beautiful because I'd asked for a special message when I went on that cruise that day. I especially said, please let us see the whales today, and please bring me a special message if we can. And that's the message that I got. So miracles do happen. The past life deck. Right, for the divine masculine, divine feminine twin flame. Clear and align. Clear and align. If any of this is triggering you, it's okay. Allow it to trigger you. See what comes up from the trigger. If you need to cry, cry. I did today. Okay. So for the past life, immediately came up this card, 2 cards actually. The arts is at the bottom of the deck. Okay. So music is always so important. The black and the white of it. The vibration. The chord, the harmony. The first card that came up was monk or nun and prayer. And the pinkies together. Oh, I was just called to bring out. In my energy book, I brought this up before, that when someone's had a heart attack, in the example that was given in the energy book, and no one knew how to revive the person, and a little boy just ran in out of nowhere, bit on the pinky, because this is an energy line to the heart, and actually revived this person. This is a true story. This is a medical energy book, okay? So that comes up in this. You see how the pinkies are together? It's calling attention to the pinkies. And for me, it's very important because I threw a clot to my pinky here. Okay? And that was when I was going through a lot of heartbreak. There is definitely an energy line there, okay? Trust and faith is the other energy that came up. And the light, how the light shines through when you trust and have faith. Even the darkest shadows. And there's angels and prayer here, and monk or nun, and trust and faith. So it's calling on having the trust and faith of a monk or nun without the restrictions of a monk or nun. I mean, you should be cutting those cords of vows, any kind of restriction or promise that you've made, seals, okay, to allow your freedom to expand. Doesn't mean you have to ever have sex again if you don't want to, but cut all those past cords. Allow yourself to be free, to be you, your bliss, without any past wounds. I was just getting monks blessing you. Namaste. Trust and have faith. It's as simple as that. As complicated as that. Ask a priest or a nun, or a monk, or anyone else for that matter. Okay. What they've learned from containment. Okay. And so the journey of love. Journey of love. Journey of love. For the organic divine masculine and divine feminine twin flames. What is the advice? The pearl threaded and gifts received. Okay. Gifts received is very green, very natural, very of the earth. And it is number 13. The fall. And 13 is death, as we begin our descent. The card is the pearl threaded. Okay, and this is number 38, the Queen of Cups. Transformation of the divine feminine. And that's in both of us. I'm going to read you 38, and it's just it was 102.52. 52 is the Queen of Swords, the partner to the King of Swords, who's becoming the King of Cups to the Queen of Cups. 38 is the pearl threaded, and the book Open to Intimacy, by the way. Though we labor through the illusion of individuality and have to face our inner challenges in solitude, our spiritual transformation is not an independent event, nor is it our victory alone as we approach the enlightened way of all-embracing love. Each human being is a pearl in the Divine Mother's garland, gradually assuming luster and revealing beauty, worth, and radiance over many lifetimes. Together we're creating precious offering in return for her gift of life. Spirits connecting. We can learn to draw on the collective effort to allow our own journey to become integrated into the journey of the group without being weighed down, and instead to be lifted up. To do this, we honor the thread that connects each of us as one divine being, just like the various fingers that belong to one hand. Then we honor the pearl essence of our divine nature, that we are capable of growth and transformation, becoming divine beauty. This oracle brings you a message. You are to shift your perspective to allow all groups that you are involved in to become a source of energetic lifting rather than depletion. If a group you're involved in cannot do this for you, as in school today, then you may not be in vibrational resonance, and it may be time to seek a group that is more energetically supportive for your vibration. Trust your feelings and don't be scared to open up and allow yourself to connect with others. That way you can truly know if a group or a gathering is for you or if you need to move on. But do trust you are not alone on your journey, and the soul connections that will nourish you will draw you to them like strands of pearls on the Divine Mother's necklace. And this poem simply states, hearts apart, remember love, and time stands still. So, coming back together after summer. Hearts apart, remember love, and time stands still. You know, that amazing first day of school. It's calling you to find your group in school, and if this isn't going to be possible for all of you right now, and this time, could be, but for some of you, school may not be the right place for you to be. But despite that, just within school, find the group that gives you bliss, not the ones that are the most popular, the one that truly resonates with who you are, and that's your power. Find the friends who support you and don't put you down. You don't need to be with the best and the brightest and the most gifted. You need to be with those who bring the best of you out. They're pearl-threaded. And know that the ones that aren't resonating with you are just on a different journey right now. But to have an open heart for all. Remember that person in school who was just so well-rounded? You know, all of the kids accepted them, you know, and they ended up being president, you know, because the cool kids liked them. They got along with anyone. They were open to anyone. Remember that person. Who is that person for you from school? And where are they now? Make sure you drink your water, rest, behave, don't behave. Get outside, exercise, just be good to yourself. Rise and be loved, guys. Have an amazing day.